Lesson 6, Benjamin Franklin, Timeline Connection. In the American colonies during the 1740s and 1750s, while Enlightenment ideas were crossing the Atlantic Ocean from Europe and taking root in American soil, a remarkable man was rising to prominence who would embody the very best of both the old American virtues and the new spirit of inquiry and discovery. This man would become known throughout the world as the wisest American, and his life would show how God can use someone who starts with very little to accomplish great things through the hard work, curiosity, and a generous heart. Key dates: 1706 to 1790, Franklin's life. 1752, kite experiment. 1776, signs Declaration of Independence. The boy who loved to read. Picture a bustling street in Boston in the early 1700s, filled with the sounds of horses' hooves on cobblestones, merchants calling out their wares, and the constant activity of a growing colonial city. In a small house on this busy street lives a large family, 17 children in all. Wow. Headed by Joshua Franklin, a hard-working candle maker who struggles every day to put food on the table and clothes on his children's back. One of these children is a boy named Benjamin, born in 1706, who seems different from his brothers and sisters. While they are content to play with simple toys or help with the family business, young Benjamin has an insatiable hunger for knowledge that amazes everyone who meets him. He devours every book he can get his hands on, reading by candlelight late into the night until his eyes burn with fatigue. Benjamin's father, Joshua, can see that his son is unusually bright, and he dreams of sending the boy to Harvard College to become a minister. But the Franklin family is poor, and after only 2 years of formal schooling, Joshua has to make a heartbreaking decision. There simply isn't enough money to continue Benjamin's education. The boy who loves learning more than anything else in the world will have to leave school and go to work. But Benjamin Franklin possessed something that no amount of money could buy: an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and an iron determination to educate himself, no matter what obstacles stood in his way. When he couldn't go to school, he turned the entire world into his classroom, learning from every book he could borrow, every person he met, and every experience he had. The apprentice who became a master. When Benjamin was 12 years old, his father arranged for him to become an apprentice to his older brother James, who printed a newspaper called the New England Courant. This decision would change Benjamin's life forever, opening up a world of books, ideas, and the written word that would shape his entire future. Working in his brother's print shop, Benjamin was surrounded by newspapers, pamphlets, and books from all over the world. He read everything he could find. Works of literature, philosophy, science, and politics. He studied the writing styles of the best authors, copying their essays word for word, and then trying to rewrite them in his own words to see if he could match their skill. But Benjamin was not content just to read and learn. He wanted to write and share his own ideas with the world. Unfortunately, his brother James was jealous of Benjamin's intelligence and refused to let him contribute articles to the newspaper. James treated Benjamin more like a servant than a brother, often being harsh and unfair in his demands. This obstacle might have discouraged a less determined person, but Benjamin Franklin was not easily defeated. He came up with a clever plan that showed both his creativity and his understanding of human nature. He began writing articles under the fake name Silence Do-Good, pretending to be a middle-aged widow with strong opinions about life in Boston. These articles were brilliant, funny, and full of wisdom about human nature and society. They were so popular that everyone in Boston was talking about them, wondering who this mysterious Silence Do-Good could be. People would gather in coffee houses and taverns to discuss her latest observations, never dreaming that they were reading the work of a teenage boy who was supposed to be quietly setting type in his brother's print shop. The young man who dared to dream. When Benjamin was 17 years old, he made one of the most important decisions of his life. Unable to bear his brother's harsh treatment any longer, and eager to seek his fortune in the wider world, he broke his apprenticeship contract and ran away from Boston. This was a serious step that could have gotten him in legal trouble, but Benjamin was willing to take the risk for the chance to control his own destiny. With very little money in his pocket, but unlimited determination in his heart, Benjamin set out for Philadelphia, the largest and most prosperous city in the American colonies. His arrival in Philadelphia has become one of the most famous stories in American history, a tale that shows how God can take someone who seems to have nothing and use them to change the world. Picture 17-year-old Benjamin Franklin walking down Market Street in Philadelphia on a Sunday morning in October 1723. He has been traveling for days. His clothes are wrinkled and dirty, and he has only a few coins left in his pocket. Hungry and tired, he stops at a bakery and asks for 3 pennies worth of bread. The baker gives 3 large puffy rolls, and Benjamin, not knowing what else to do with them, tucks one under each arm and begins eating the third as he walks down the street. As he walks along looking like a poor country boy who doesn't know anything about city life, he passes a neat house where a young woman named Deborah Reed is standing in the doorway. She sees this awkward young man with his arms full of bread and can't help but laugh at his appearance. Little did she know that this strange-looking boy would one day become her husband and one of the most famous and respected men in America. Franklin the inventor, using God's gifts to help others. As Benjamin Franklin grew older and established himself as a successful printer and businessman in Philadelphia, his natural curiosity led him to become one of America's greatest inventors. He had a remarkable ability to see problems in everyday life and figure out practical ways to solve them. His inventions were not created to make him rich or famous, but to make life better and easier for ordinary people. Franklin invented bifocal glasses because he was both nearsighted and farsighted, and he was tired of constantly switching between two different pairs of spectacles. He created the Franklin stove, an improved heating device that made homes warmer while using less wood, helping families save money and stay comfortable during harsh winters. He invented the lightning rod, a simple but brilliant device that protected buildings from lightning strikes, saving countless lives and preventing enormous property damage. As a young man who loved swimming, Franklin even invented swim fins to help people move through the water more efficiently. He was always thinking of ways to use the gifts God had given him to benefit others. What made Franklin truly special as an inventor was his generous heart. He never took out patents on his inventions, which meant that he never made money from them. When people asked him why he didn't protect his ideas so he could profit from them, Franklin replied that since God had given him the ability to invent useful things, he should share them freely with everyone to make their lives better. This attitude of generosity and service would characterize Franklin's entire life. Franklin the scientist, unlocking the secrets of creation. Franklin's most famous scientific achievement was his groundbreaking work with electricity, a mysterious force that scientists were just beginning to understand. In 1752, he conducted his legendary kite experiment during a thunderstorm, an event that made him famous throughout the world, but could easily have cost him his life. Picture Franklin on a stormy day, standing in a field outside Philadelphia with his son, William. Dark clouds rolled overhead and lightning flashes in the distance. Franklin has attached a metal key to a silk kite string and is preparing to fly the kite into the storm. When lightning strikes the kite, electricity travels down the wet string to the key, proving that lightning is the same phenomenon as the electricity that scientists were studying in the laboratories. This experiment was incredibly dangerous. Franklin was fortunate that he wasn't killed by the electrical charge, but it established him as one of the world's leading scientists and earned him honorary degrees from universities throughout Europe. Kings and queens wanted to meet this remarkable American who had unlocked one of nature's greatest mysteries. Franklin's scientific work was motivated by more than just curiosity. He saw science as a way of understanding God's creation and using that understanding to benefit humanity. He believed that God had created an orderly universe governed by natural laws, and that by studying these laws, people could learn to live better lives and create a better world. Franklin, the writer and teacher of wisdom. Franklin was also a gifted writer who used his pen to teach people how to live good, productive, and virtuous lives. His most famous publication was Poor Richard's Almanac, an annual collection of weather predictions, astronomical information, and wise sayings that became one of the most popular books in colonial America. The almanac was filled with memorable proverbs that captured Franklin's practical wisdom about life. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. A penny saved is a penny earned. God helps those who helps themselves. Well done is better than well said. Little strokes fell great oaks. He that lies down with dogs shall rise up with fleas. These sayings became part of American culture and are still quoted today. They reflected Franklin's belief that hard work, thrift, honesty, and practical wisdom were the keys to success and happiness. But more than that, they showed his understanding that true success comes not from luck or birth, but from character and effort. Franklin also wrote his famous autobiography, one of the first great American books, in which he shared the story of his rise from poverty to prominence. In this book, he described his method for developing good character by focusing on one virtue at a time. Temperance, silence, order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, cleanliness, tranquility, chastity, and humility. Though Franklin was not always a perfect example of these virtues himself, his sincere effort to improve his character inspired countless other Americans to strive for moral excellence.
Franklin and the birth of America. As Benjamin Franklin grew older and more respected, he became deeply involved in the political life of the colonies. He served as a representative of Pennsylvania in London, trying to maintain good relations between America and Britain. But as tensions grew between the mother country and her American colonies, Franklin gradually came to believe that the colonies could have more freedom to govern themselves. When the colonists finally decided that they had no choice but to fight for complete independence from Britain, Franklin was one of the distinguished men who signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776. At age 70, he was the oldest signer of the historic document, and his presence gave weight and respectability to what many people considered a dangerous act of rebellion. But Franklin's greatest service to his country came when he was sent to France as America's ambassador, with the crucial mission of persuading the French government to help America in the war against Britain. This was perhaps the most important diplomatic assignment in American history, because with French help, the American colonies probably could not have won their independence. The French people fell in love with Franklin because he was so wise, charming, and humble. Instead of dressing like a fancy European diplomat, he wore simple clothes and a fur cap that made him look like a frontiersman. He spoke to everyone with respect and kindness, whether they were kings or common people. The French saw him as the embodiment of American virtue and simplicity, and they were eager to help the country that had produced such a remarkable man. Franklin's diplomacy was absolutely crucial to American victory. France provided money, ships and soldiers, and naval support that helped America win the Revolutionary War. Without Franklin's patient, skillful work in France, America might never have gained its independence, and the great experiment in self-government might have ended before it truly began. A life of service and wisdom. Benjamin Franklin's long life, he lived to be 84 years old, was a testament to what one person can accomplish through hard work, curiosity, generosity, and a desire to serve others. He rose from poverty to become one of the most respected men in the world, but he never forgot his humble beginnings or lost his concern for ordinary people. Franklin's life teaches us several important lessons that are relevant today. First, it shows us that formal education, while valuable, is not the only way to learn and grow. Franklin educated himself through reading, observation, and experience, proving that anyone with curiosity and determination can acquire knowledge and wisdom. Second, Franklin's example shows us the importance of using our talents and abilities to help others rather than just to benefit ourselves. His inventions, his writings, and his public service were all motivated by a desire to make the world a better place. Finally, Franklin's life demonstrates that success comes not from luck or privilege, but from character, hard work, and perseverance. He faced many obstacles and setbacks, but he never gave up on his dream or his commitment to serving others. Looking ahead, Benjamin Franklin's wisdom and diplomatic skills had helped secure American independence, but the new nation still faced enormous challenges. How could 13 separate colonies, each with its own interests and traditions, unite to form a single strong nation? How could they create a government that would protect people's rights without becoming tyrannical? How could they balance the need for order and the desire for freedom? These questions would soon test the wisdom of Franklin and other leaders as they worked to create a new form of government that had never been tried before in human history. The same practical wisdom and generous spirit that had made Franklin successful as an inventor, writer, and diplomat would be desperately needed as America faced the challenge of turning the dream of independence into the reality of a functional nation.